I'd like to call to order the Burlington Airport Commission meeting. It's about 4:05, and it's August 19th, 2020. And this meeting today is I'll start it off. And the reason I'm starting it off is because it's an organizational meeting where we elect a chair and a vice chair. So do we have any nominations for Burlington International Airport Commission chair?
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yes.
I would move that Jeff Munger be nominated as chair of the Airport Commission for the next year.
I'll second that.
And who was that seconded by?
Tim.
Tim, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll turn this commission meeting over to the chair at this point. Jeff?
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 2.01, 3.01, the vice chair. Do I have any nominations for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Bill Keogh for the post of vice chair.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Sorry about the background.
Item number 4, motion to adopt or amend the agenda.
Mr. Chairman, the agenda has been amended by the action that was taken. I probably should have made a motion early on, but we have an agenda. But other than that, let me just comply. I move we accept the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public forum. I guess there's nobody on for that, so we'll move on to item number 6.
Jeff?
6.01. Hello. Yeah.
There's somebody on the phone. Could they identify themselves?
It's 802-766-1988. We're just trying to get a record.
Hey. Sorry, this is Christine La, Mayor Winitsky, just listening in, no comment to make.
That's great, Christine. We just want to make sure we address you if there was a public comment.
Thank you.
Well, Mayor.
All right. I see. So that's what that little telephone means in the lower right. Okay. We're on to 6.01, the financial package. So I assume, Marie, there you are.
Yes. I will take direction at how you would like to proceed today. I can go through the write-up if that is sounds the easiest to you. There's a lot of information that I shared with the Airport Commission, and I had an additional question from Airport Commissioner Tim, and I was able to get that information together, and we also shared that with the entire commission. So if I can proceed how you want. I can go through the write-up to start if you like, and then I can take specific questions if you have any specific questions. Does that sound agreeable?
Yes.
Sure. I'd recommend that we sort of do it the same way we've done it before, where you give a recap of the actuals that have taken place, and we can have a conversation on that, and then we can move into the conversation about the budget for 21.
Very good. So I do want to highlight that fiscal year 2020 is still preliminary. It is substantially complete. However, there's always stuff that we're, especially with the situation that we have with COVID, we're reviewing all the revenues and collectability and everything else very, very closely. We do that anyway, but I just put that out there as these numbers may change very slightly, but I don't expect any significant changes right now. So I point that out. Let's see, one of the highlights and important things, we did receive the CARES Act grant. We got that in May. It was for $8.7 million, and that was a huge deal to our overall revenues. And we've used about $2.2 million, a little less than that. We have already applied, we got the money, and that is being used to cover the offset, the expenditures that we had the operating expenditures in fiscal year 20, the one that we just wrapped up. And that's due to, we had quite a decline in our revenues, right? Given that the traffic was down. So I do want to point that out. We will continue to draw down on that CARES Act every single month, or as frequently as even more frequently if we need to, or have large expenditures, again, because our employments are much lower than we would typically see, and that is having a very big impact on the revenues we're able to collect. The debt coverage score, this includes the money we got from the CARES Act, but you normally see a much higher score, and usually at year end, we are aiming for 1.5. This year, we are at 1.3. And again, this is due to the effect of the revenues that we saw happen, the shortfall. Our revenues year to date on what I've submitted to you for our operating revenues was $18.7 million. That's before the CARES Act. That meant that we took in about $3.3 million less than the prior year. So that was, that's by the time we started seeing the effect on the employments was really the end of February, but March directly started to slow down, and April, May, and June were pretty sizable differences compared to the year over year. And I try to highlight for you the largest revenue that we saw go down year over year, and that was parking revenues. That went down about almost $1.7 million. Our car rental concessions were about $360,000 lower, CFCs lower, landing fees lower, and our PFCs were almost $800,000 lower than what we would have seen in the past year. So those are directly correlated with the number of people flying. Our expenses year to date were just slightly higher than what we had the previous year. So about $14 million, so about $226,000 higher than our prior year. All in all, we did try to slow down our spending. The best things that we had within our control, we did decide that if we were able to not do them and not affect safety in any way, we really started to pull the reins back. And so that number would have been higher had we not done that. So we really tried to control our expenditures. The year was looking great, until all this sort of happened, the changes. And the AIP receivable was about $3.2 million as of June 30th. A lot of our bills that make that look pretty high, they come in actually after July 1st. And therefore, but we have to record the receivable as of the year that those expenses happen. So the work and the construction work, we've got some pretty large projects going on with the Taxiway G Golf Phase 2 and the apron reconstruction of Phase 6. We had some pretty big bills coming in there that we paid in, we'll say in July and even the beginning of August that make that receivable look very high. We have since been reimbursed for those expenditures. So just let you know, we're managing and on top of be assured, we are on top of our cash flow and making sure as soon as we're paying something, we are requesting that money back as quickly as we can. Some other big highlights, things that we did to kind of ensure that the airport is going to be in a safe position, not only for the short term, but for the, at least through May of 2021, is we went out and secured a $11.1 million revenue anticipation note. I think we told you about this in the April meeting that we were going to do this. So this isn't new news, just letting you know that we did in fact go ahead and do that. In addition, in July, we increased our GAN, which is our grant anticipation note. We had a grant, we'll say a line of credit of $7 million. We increased it to $23 million. We haven't had to really use any more of it, but that it would be in the event that the FAA, for some reason, is not able to reimburse us as quickly as we would need them to. We have more bandwidth to, again, help our cash flow while we wait for the money coming back. And the interest that we pay on the GAN is all, we will put it in, it's all going to be reimbursable under PFCs, under our next application. And so our cash at the end of June was almost $13 million. That reflects when we drew down the revenue anticipation note of $11.1 million, we got that in a lump sum. So they advance all of the monies to us at once. That's how the city and the attorneys and everybody structured the deal. And so that money, that's why you're seeing numbers in that cash balance that look really great. But a lot of that has to do with, we had this influx of cash to make certain that we never get in trouble and aren't at risk for our finances. And the last thing that I have put on my list here is, I've got a budget for 2021. I wanted to relay to you a lot of changes in that budget. You're going to see when you compare what we are projecting, we did the best that we could with the information that we have. And we lowered significantly things. If you look at the difference in the parking garage revenues and other revenues that are related to traffic, those numbers are a lot lower. And likewise, we really, really worked our best to slash our expenditures as reasonable as we could, knowing we're going to be working at that all year long. And if we have a better year than we hope for, then, we can come back to you and amend things at that point. So those are sort of the highlights of all of those papers that, all of the worksheets that I send on to you. Yes?
So one thing, if you could just go over real quick. So we ended the year and we balanced our budget. So, we didn't have a shortage, and in balancing our budget, we used 2-something million of the CARES Act money, which is, very good, I would say, for the hits that we were taking. Moving forward, that leaves us somewhere around 5-something. Marie, how much do we have left of the CARES Act?
We have about $6.2 million, a little bit more than that, $6.4 million left of the CARES Act money that we're going to be able to use in this current fiscal year. The number on the budget shows a little higher because we were having to do the budget June 1st. We were sending it out the end of May to downtown. But it reflects pretty accurately that we are carrying majority of the CARES Act money into the new year.
So,
Marie, you're anticipating using all the remaining CARES Act money in FY21?
Yeah.
Is there a federal mandate that we have to use that by a certain date?
We have, and Nick, you may correct me if I'm incorrect. I think we have 3 or 4 years to use all the money.
Oh,
That's-
okay.
We have 4 years, just like a typical AIP grant, to use these funds. However, some obligations associated with the CARES Act is to retain 90% of our workforce through December 31st of this year. And a significant amount of those CARES funds would be related to payroll.
we're also anticipating another CARES Act coming to the airport between now and the end of the year, which we believe will get us through the year. And if it doesn't, we have our days of cash. Marie, how many days of we have at hand?
Right now, we have close to 500 days cash on hand. But again, that's a lot of that is reflective of that $11.1 million. Certainly help that.
We've done very well. We've hedged, we made sure that we were in a position of having cash. It's a lot easier to borrow money and do things when you have cash on hand. We also do expect to get another CARES Act grant, probably within the next 90 days, which we believe will take us through the rest of the year. And it's not that we're in need of it anymore than any other airport. We're actually in very good shape and making very good decisions. As Marie told you, we have cut back everything that we could, but at the same time, we use our workforce to get a lot of projects done, a lot of deferred maintenance, and it's not cutting everything back, and we're paralyzed. We are probably leveraging this time in this position and this opportunity as well as we possibly can. And things are actually in so many ways going very well, except for our commercial traffic. So just wanted to add that to the financial a little bit. I don't want you to get the wrong picture of where we're at.
Other questions?
Marie, can you talk a little bit more about the revenue anticipation note? And it sounds like we had no choice but to take it all in one lump sum. And what what are we paying to service that debt on a either monthly or annual basis?
So Jeff, we're paying an interest rate of 1.85%. We're not paying any principal back until it comes due. So 1 year after we took it out, we will have to repay the interest back or refinance it or do something depending on how the year shakes out. But that is the structure. It is a short-term 1 year, 12-month borrowing that we did. And it's, so I think it's roughly about 200, a little bit more than that, $200,000 in interest that we anticipate paying over the course of the year. And it's really just to better position the airport and ourselves. We did this before we knew that we were definitive in getting the CARES Act money. And we also did this before we knew the amount that we were getting for the CARES Act money. So that's part of all those decisions that went into determining to get the money while we could, while people are willing to lend us money, I guess.
And it also, basically it's our insurance policy to make sure that we get through the year. And then if for some reason we didn't get another CARES package and we needed to term it out, that is something that we would do, is we would term out this debt over time. But it's important that we have a cash flow to make it through the year. And so we did that to hedge.
Mm-hmm. So is that part of our cash? It is part of our cash position, you said, right?
Yeah, it is part of our cash position. We can use it as we need to right now.
As is the excess CARES Act money, or no?
No, not in the CARES Act money. The CARES Act money is a reimbursement grant only. So we have the amount, we have it in the grant form, but it stays with the FAA until we request a reimbursement. It's exactly the same as we do all of our AIP grants. We upload with all the invoices and all the backup to show how we spent the money, and then the money gets reimbursed to us, and that's what we've done. We've done 2 reimbursement requests with them so far.
And what are the types of things you're asking for reimbursement for? Is it mostly compensation?
Yeah, compensation is the largest component of it. We do all of our payroll and related compensation with that. And then some of the bigger expenditures that we're doing that we don't have any other source of funding for. So they could be any kind of expenses or operating expenses. If we're doing, I think part of what we did some painting on the runway, which was like $240 something thousand. We did that in June, paid it out in July. We included that as one of the expenditure items as well. So we're able to decide what we want to include on there, what makes sense, but payroll is the biggest component of what our reimbursements are.
Okay. And the debt coverage score, you said the CARES Act money does count towards that, but I assume the revenue anticipation note does not?
That is correct. The revenue anticipation note from an accounting standpoint is simply a liability. We have a liability on our books, we have on our assets, we have cash. Mm-hmm. As far as the CARES Act, that money is coming in to supplement our operating revenues. It is going against operating expenditures 100%. So that's why we're going to use that money toward our debt coverage ratio.
Anyone else with questions?
Yeah, I was going to so Jeff got a number of great questions in there. I had a few of my own as well. So we'll stay with the debt coverage score. So we have a bank covenant of 1.5. Is that correct or no?
No, the bond
what is our covenant?
1.25.
1.25.
1.25. The 1.5 is that number comes about from the rating agencies recommended years ago that we should strive to have a 1.5 debt coverage ratio. When we were negotiating with the airlines back in 2016, 2015, we were able to get them to agree that our requirement between us that we would have a 1.5 debt score coverage. They, didn't really like that. They're saying you only need 1.25, but obviously it's a safe harbor and it's better for the airport financially. So this year, We didn't want to use up all the CARES money to go from 1.3. We're making coverage and we're above that.
Right.
We have some threshold.
Yeah.
But we didn't want to strive for 1.5 just to get to 1.5 and use up all of our CARES money when we know we're going to probably need it this year to pay.
Exactly.
Because nobody can tell me exactly what's going to happen this year.
Right. Okay. So 1.25 is the official covenant with the bank.
Yes.
Okay. And then going back to the revenue anticipation note. So, Gene, I think you had mentioned that there's the prospect of potentially refinancing that when that matures. Now that we're 3 months in roughly from when that was issued, how do we feel about the ability to repay it based on what we're seeing so far?
We actually feel very good about repaying it at this point, and we anticipate repaying it at this point. We expect, with the CARES dollars that we'll be able to do that moving forward. There's a chance, that we may need to, depending, if there's any surprises throughout the winter. I can't predict what I can't predict.
Sure.
So it's there as an insurance policy, but based on our budget and our calculations at the time that we took it out, we're expecting to pay it back a year, 9 months from now.
Okay.
And for context, when we originally acquired the RAN and put that in place, there was no CARES funding available to us at all.
Right.
So the calculation and the methodology for that $11 million was based on revenue loss or projected revenue loss versus the expenditure reimbursement of the CARES Act. So now that we have the CARES Act, and correct me if I'm wrong, Marie, we have not spent any, technically any of that RAN and are in a very good cash position to repay that, even 3 months into the pandemic.
Right. I think I had maybe a couple of days where I fell below that $11.1 million in our banking account. That's it. Everything else has been significantly above it. And so we're very much holding our own and managing that cash flow every day, literally every day.
Okay. And then you mentioned that there's another CARES Act application in the works. How much are we hoping that we can get from that?
We're hoping. And, I'm assuming you watch the news, so you know what's going on in Washington. So, it's like,
yes.
A fishing line into any brook in Vermont. It's like, I'm overly optimistic that we will get something. I'm hopeful that we will do exactly the same thing that we received last time is what we're anticipating based on talking to Senator Leahy's office and the FAA. But again, nobody knows because nothing's been approved.
Sure. How much did we apply for?
So it wasn't necessarily an application.
Okay.
It was an application, but the FAA or the DOT said this is how much is allocated to this particular airport. And they did that to every single airport in the national system across the country. So there was $10 billion set aside as part of airports funding. And that's where the ratio or the allocation to Burlington at the just over $8.7 million. What Gene is referring to is we're also have been given indications that there's an additional $10 billion CARES funding specific to airports again. And again, that's where the $8.7 million ratio, all based on enplanements.
Sure. Okay. Great. Thank you for that. Go ahead.
Tim, the first 8.7, we were anticipating, just so you know, we were anticipating getting somewhere between 2 and 6. Because the formula changed, we received 8. So, I don't know how they're going to come at it, but I can't imagine it's going to be less based on the need and where the industry is going to be in October. There's going to be a substantial change, and there has been right along. And we're anticipating, there to be another change in the industry in October.
What does that mean, another change in the industry?
The industry is going to probably be cut in half as far as staffing, from the airlines. There's going to be, they're anticipating for cost savings, a substantial reduction and the corporate headquarters at most airlines. There's going to be a lot of changes. Because they still continue to service Burlington based on need, and even though we're a green state, we have a lot of restrictions, so that, like the rest of the industry, is having a real adverse effect on it. So we'll be part of those changes. We've seen, cutbacks in some routes, not eliminations, cutbacks because of supply and demand. They will come back when the market comes back.
Okay. The last question I had was with regard, there was a mention to the line of credit going from 7 million to 23 million. Did I get that correctly?
You did. That's the grant anticipation note.
Okay.
And what we use that for, if I have a grant that I know is going to take a while for the FAA to reimburse me. An example would be when we get to the end of the AIP Gulf project, there is a closeout process. I can only draw down 90% of the grant amount for reimbursement. So when I hit that 90% threshold of my expenses, that last 10%, and that's a $15 million grant, I can't draw that down until the closeout happens, is complete. And there's always a time, there's a lot of things that have to happen, both from the contractor and the FAA. And so we can go months, many months actually, depending on the grant of that closeout to get final approval and, stamped by the FAA. In a case like that, instead of holding the bag on, I paid the vendors, I paid the contractors for the construction work, we will utilize the grant anticipation note. So I have up to $23 million that will go from this July through the end of next July, that I could draw down if I need to, if I have grants like that I can't get reimbursement quickly. That's what we
right. So I just want to make sure I understand the math. So that would be just borrowing the last 10% on any project that's been completed that hasn't yet been fully funded. Is that correct?
Correct. If I know I'm going to wait for a while, I will seek reimbursement. Yeah.
So if it's 10%, so if you can only draw 10%, does that mean, I guess I'm trying to put it in perspective, because to me, $23 million of that last 10% would mean that there's at any point $230 million of projects that have been done where we're waiting for that last 10%.
Right. And let me explain one more thing. We do have a lot of big projects in the pipeline right now, and we expect, like if our terminal integration project gets started, that's a $10 million project, about $11 million, but $10 million in federal funding, supplemental funding. That could get started before July. That'll get started, we anticipate, before July. It could be even higher. And we have some other grants. What happens is, if for any reason, one of our concerns was if the FAA slowed down their reimbursement process, we were going to be affected by that, right? So we wanted to make sure that if in the event that happened, we had this ability to go ahead and utilize. The way it's running right now, we don't expect to draw it all down. But if the FAA were to slow down giving us the reimbursement money, we could utilize it. Does that make
sense? Do we pay anything on the unborrowed portion of that one?
We do, but it's a very minimal. So we pay on the unborrowed portion. I would have to look it up. It's very small.
Yeah, it's usually some fraction of a percent.
It's a fraction of a percent, exactly. Yeah. And we only pay the interest. And again, the interest rate is very, very low. I don't remember what it is today. It floats, I think, but it's very, very low.
Okay.
I think it's about 1.85% as well.
Okay. Great. Those were my questions on the actuals. Thank you.
Okay.
Tim?
Yes, Gene.
That's actually an amazing problem to need that kind of line. And just what it tells you is that we've actively been going out and getting millions of dollars worth of grants to do millions of dollars worth of infrastructure work here at the airport. And you will see later in the meeting where Nick, Larry, Shelby will go over, and Matt, different, projects that are happening here with those dollars. So it's like I said earlier in my report, these are really the worst of times, but the best of times. There's a lot that are happening.
Yeah.
And also one more thing, this year, some of the grants are paid 100%, so there is no 10% required from the airport. I believe taxiway G, Nick, is that,
No.
which one?
So we've only received one grant so far this year, which we'll talk about, but the security project is a 100% reimbursable grant. Different than the 90% that Marie was talking about, because we still have all reimbursement request at 90% until final project closeout. But this year, because of CARES, this is again part of the CARES Act, we're expecting all of our grants that we applied for this year, 4 of them will be 100% reimbursable.
Okay.
We're just helping Jeff Munger. He lost internet access. So we're just trying to bring him back in here. I apologize for talking behind your sides there.
Just to expand on what Nick just said, and I know it's later in the packet, but we put together a list of all the items that have gone to the Board of Finance and City Council. Each of the 4 grants that Nick just mentioned, there's 4 grants that we are looking to receive from the FAA this year. That'll be 100% federal dollars as opposed to a 90 and then a 10% local share. Those are all in that packet. And you'll see that if you happen to look at them, they're all saying that the FAA will be funding 100%, which is fantastic.
Has that been approved by the council?
They have been approved by the council, so that when we get the grant, we have a very quick turnaround and we're able to sign them and send them back.
Thank you.
You'll see that it's not on a agenda item. I think it's 6.3.
Got it.
Any other financial questions on the budget, on anything else that I submitted? There's a lot of numbers coming your way. It's almost like number fatigue, right? But just if anybody has any specific questions.
I do have one sort of left-handed question. Is a reduction in the police force going to affect the airport operation as far as security goes?
Not at this point. We pay for the officers that are here. I believe it's 7, Marie, 7 officers, 8 officers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's about 7.5 officers.
We pay for that. So that's a contract we have, with downtown. So they need to supply those officers here 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
So there'll be no reduction in that number of officers that currently protect the airport?
Not at all.
What was your answer?
I said not at all. They have to,
Okay.
They're obligated by the contract to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Marie, with regard to the budget, I just had a couple of things. I wanted to thank you for putting together the extra analysis. I thought it was really telling to see the tale of not quite 2 halves of the year, but the before and the after. It's I work with a lot of other businesses, and this story is, I wouldn't say the percentages are the same, but it's the same extent that it shows that we were having a really solid year up through February, and then COVID sort of hit us for a pretty serious loop. So I understand what it's like to build budgets in this environment. I'm actually helping companies build budgets in this environment, and not knowing what the future holds is tough. So I appreciate that a lot of these are really best guesses more than they've probably ever been before. Hopefully we'll surprise everyone on the upside with everything. My only question was in terms of just from a very broad brush revenue standpoint. I'm sure that there was a monthly projection that's behind this annual projection. And I'm just curious, almost 2 months into the year, how are we doing on the revenue side versus what we thought we would do when the budget was put together?
Yeah, we knew that the summer was going to continue to be an extension of what we were seeing in the late spring, April, May. And when we were putting the budget together, we knew we weren't going to be right out of the woods. So we sort of expected in our numbers, we're still looking at how things are coming in July and August. We're just halfway through. So a lot of those numbers we will not know until, like the 10th or the 15th of September, when our vendors report their numbers to us. But we expected to be doing not so good the beginning part of the summer. We hope things might uptick, and then we kind of, even anticipated there might be some variability in terms of the flying public's confidence. There may be, we call it a second wave, but there may be some other things. So it'll be interesting to see how that fleshes out against what we sort of hoped for. But I haven't done that analysis yet to see it kind of, half one way, half it's all water under the bridge in some way. It is what it is. But to see how we play out, it's going to be an interesting year.
No, it sure will be. And that's why I think it's wise to just stay on top of the first few months and see how we're trending against what we thought we would do in those months. But you're right that the first 3 months might have no bearing on how we do against the budget, in the first 3 months might have no bearing on the last 9, because anything is possible.
Tim, we built our budget basically cutting out 2/3. And I did work with Jeff Shulman on this a little bit. We did cut that out. We hedged again. We expected summer to be better. Fall is always tough. And that's where you'll probably see the CARES money be more utilized, is throughout the rest of the year. And then the new CARES money will be used that way too, because I think industry-wide, you will see just what we're talking about. And as you know, the travel industry is taking it the hardest. But I got to tell you, I'm very bullish on us making it through. I feel that we have all the tools in the workshop, the number of days of cash on hand, as well as these other instruments that we have put in place. And then if a year from now we need to hedge and amortize, we'll still have the ability to do that. But I don't anticipate the federal government will let the airport system go astray. So I would anticipate that we'll get some sort of support. And between that and the other tools that we have in place, I would say that we do wrap this up. We'll be rebuilding potentially a year from now. We'll start rebuilding. But again, it's going to be a slow trickle out of this, we believe. And once the confidence is back, I believe it's going to be a real, boom, is what I'm feeling.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you, Gene. Thank you, Marie.
Still fun. Hey, Bill, can you take over?
I hope so. Is Jeff right there?
He's had some troubles with his internet. I don't know if he's on right now.
Okay. Next item is from construction. Larry, you're on.
Okay. Nick, are we going to be able to put something up on the screen, or does everybody have the photos and the construction update in front of them?
No, I don't, but that's all right. Go ahead without me.
Yeah, go ahead, Larry, and then we'll work out sharing the screen. There we go. Hannah's got it.
Photos first to break up all the talk for a second. Here we go. All right. So as everybody can see on the screen, this was the first bucket that went into the old QTA this spring. You can see it's a controlled environment with the red tape and the water sprayed on due to asbestos issues. Next one, please. This is all the rubble from that being taken down before it was trucked away in a very controlled way, and then disposed of in a very controlled way. This is the old QTA. And this is the site when it was nice and clean after the building was down, and they're just picking up the final pieces. All right, next. As you can see, these photos are a little bit out of sequence because this was actually going on before that happened, and this was the part of the construction of the new QTA. Nick. All right, this is real recently. This is the final parts being put together for the QTA project with its separate entrances, one to the QTA and the FAA having their own gates and entrances. The only thing we're waiting on now is the final gate systems for both the QTA and the FAA system. It's next one. This is from a top or the 5th floor of the parking garage behind the trees, the new QTA and all the pavement. This is a little bit closer look of it. It looks like a painting almost. The thing looks beautiful. Next. No, whoops. Keep going. And then this photo, I took this one because it was exactly of the rendering that we had beside the building before we built it. And you can't tell whether this is the rendering or the building, but this is the actual building that got built. So that was nice to see. Next. Okay, moving on to Taxiway Golf Phase 2. This is just showing some electrical manholes and trenching going on. We redid the whole duct system from one end to all the way. It's going up to the end, the north side of runway 15 with all new duct and electrical in this project. So this is fairly extensive and taking lots of time. So this is all the duct work and being concrete or formed in concrete encase. This is pavement going down on right out there right now. It's coming together. Taxiway Golf. More paving. These are runway edge lights going in. So obviously they go in and then they pave over this, and so the planes have edge lights along the taxiway Golf. Nick, more pavement. Keep going, Nick. I think I've copied a couple extra pictures. Keep going. All right. So this is the apron Phase 6 on the south end of the airport near gate 11, 13, and 15. This is the forms for the concrete panels that are being held up. And then underneath the concrete, you'll see the concrete truck on top of bituminous pavement that's also below the concrete you see out there. Next, Nick. This, if you look to the left, that's those panels all finished, and this is the connection of bituminous at the surface level to the existing surface on the taxiway Alpha adjacent to it. So this is what it looks like when they're completing the connection. And then the final photo I have for today is Andrew with his temperature being taken. We did quite a bit of research and did on body scanners to figure out what systems to acquire. We did an RFP and we had like 8 vendors that came forward. And we now have temperature body scanners for those people leaving the security area that are coming from out of state into Vermont so they can see what their temperature is. And we also have on the entrance what is called this, which is a different system called the Scanitizer that takes people's temperature personally as they walk in. So Nick, can we go to my Miss now?
And if you're curious or if you're on Facebook, Gene and I recorded a Facebook Live video this morning talking about Taxiway Golf, which is, Larry's going to talk about it more, I believe, right now, but it's coming along very good, incredibly complex this year. And Larry will touch base on that right now.
All right. I'm going to go through this quickly. Stop me or I'll take questions when I'm done. First one is Phase 6 of the apron, which I just showed you pictures of. There's 3 portions of that this year. 2 of them are finished. One of them is on hold for 3 weeks because of coordination with the Taxiway Golf project. That'll start back up in 3 weeks and be finished by the end of the season. Phase 6A, which we already have a grant for, will be completed next year in coordination with the grant we applied for this year for Phase 7, which is the remain overnight area. Quick turnaround facility. I think that one's self-explanatory. That is pretty much done, just waiting on final gating. Taxiway Golf realignment. We started the spring, ready early, going along, and then the governor issued a stop work order with those projects that were receiving state funding, which we get a very small amount. So we had to stop. So we were shut down for almost 4 weeks, and then we restarted it again. And I guess the best thing to report now is we are chugging along, and we still anticipating on having a full parallel taxiway by the end of this year. There will be some ancillary work that will have to probably be done in the spring, but we're hoping, we should have a full parallel taxiway to runway 1533 this year. Master plan, we're in the final stages of that. We've finalized all the alternatives. We've put costs to those, and we've looked out 5, 10, and 15 years for all those initiatives and looking at the future of the airport. And we anticipate a public hearing or meeting, I think, probably in the fall or mid-fall, I would guess, but Nick can report a little bit more on that.
So the master plan will be presented directly to you sometime in October. And then we'll also be doing.
Back on. But my picture isn't. Okay.
We'll also be doing a public meeting, a public hearing rather, in October, as well as our advisory committee meetings on the master plan. There's a tremendous amount to go through in our master plan. This is, this paragraph doesn't do it justice on what these documents actually look like and what the CIP aggressively looks at for accessing additional federal funding into the future. So we're extremely excited to present that to you again in October.
Welcome.
Okay, moving along. The hotel. The good news on that is it was born again. It's ready. It's being permitted. We've been to the DRB twice, I believe. I'm getting a little confused because we have so many projects before them over the last 6 months that we should be finishing up in early September with all the permitting for the hotel in the new location. Valley West Apron rehabilitation.
Gene.
Yes.
Gene, can we somehow get some drawings of what this hotel is supposed to look like, as to the site location, what it's going to look like, and this has changed a couple of times since we saw it, so it'd be helpful if, I don't know if you email it to a snail mail, but I think
We'll do that.
Larry,
You'll have it by tomorrow morning, Bill.
no, okay. All right.
Tonight. All right. Annual parking garage maintenance. Our contractor was out of Massachusetts, and due to the whole COVID situation, best suited this year to just wait and put that off until next year. We did some, our own staff did some plugging of some areas we had, and the area didn't look too bad that we need to do this in this spring, but we put that off because of that. New security system. We were just awarded almost a $1.5 million grant to rehabilitate our existing cameras and access control system. And we are having actually our kickoff meeting with the contractor tomorrow to discuss scheduling, timing, and all that. We don't have a contract quite yet with them because we're still awaiting the grant to come back. It's been signed by us, and we're just waiting for the offer to come back, and then I'll be able to issue all the contracts. But we're going to start moving forward.
Gene, can you explain that a little bit more, please? What will the airport look like once that? What's the plan for that, verbally?
For the security contract, Bill?
Yeah.
So this is without going into too much detail, as you can imagine why, this is essentially
Well, let me put this up. How will it change the face of the airport as we see it now?
well,
You're not going to see a difference.
you're not going to notice a thing.
Okay, that's all right. Okay, end of question.
What needs notice, Bill, is updated cameras and maybe more cameras. The security system we have will be upgraded. So the badging system we have and a lot of the other, it'll be upgraded and more secure than it's ever been.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, it'll also be consistent. We have all types of different systems in place now. It'll all be one and should be more easily maintained. Number 11, South Apron and associated glycol treatment. As I this is what we're calling Phase 7, or the Remain Overnight area. We applied for the whole entire grant this year, which was about $8 million to do that project. We're only anticipating possibly $2.5 million. So we will do what we can with that, then reapply next year to get the project completed. Navigation easements, that's nothing new. Okay, a couple other grants we applied for because of the 100% this year, and Nick can probably provide better detail, but we did do a grant for Chamberlain School for the HVAC improvements for $3.6 million, and we anticipate that real soon too, and we'll move that forward as soon as we receive the grant with the school and
Larry, is that satisfactory to the Chamberlain School?
Nick has that.
Yeah, so Bill, this is the Chamberlain School project is part of our noise compatibility program. So
yes.
if you remember last year or just prior to that, we did an acoustical study on the Chamberlain School, which they were not eligible for noise mitigation because the interior noise level was sufficient for the federal thresholds. However, they were eligible for a air circulation system and an HVAC system upgrade so that their windows could remain shut, keeping that interior noise level where it should be. So this is what that grant is. It creates the upgrade to the HVAC system and allows that vertical circuit or the circulation system to be put into place, paid for by the FAA AIP program.
Now, Nick, I don't know if this is germane or not, but will that have anything to do with the virus thing? Does that have any impact on the virus thing? That so isn't so much discussion in buildings?
No, so there's very strict criteria on what the FAA will allow and will fund. This was all designed and then analyzed prior to the pandemic ever happening. I hear what you're saying because a lot of the conversation happening right now is upgraded containment, I guess you could say, of the HVAC systems in buildings.
As a school board member, you're very aware of that.
And so this is strictly the HVAC system. This is essentially to allow cool air circulation throughout the building. They already have a heater system, as you can imagine. This will allow cool air circulation throughout the building so that those windows can remain shut. At the same time, because of the existing system they have, it's a slight upgrade or change to what they have for a heating system as well. So this is strictly for noise, and it has to be that way by federal regulation. There's some tricks that we have that we're able to work with the FAA partners on, and we'll continue to do that, as well as additional funding possibilities by working with efficiency programs throughout the state of Vermont that are helping us with this particular project. Don't have the grant yet, but like Larry said, we are anticipating it within the next month.
Okay. 14, noise monitoring equipment. As everybody knows from previous Airport Commission meetings, there's been some concern about the mapping and all that type of stuff for the noise. So we were allowed to apply for a small grant to acquire a few noise monitors currently on airport property to confirm or ask questions about the models and their noise. So we anticipate this in the next month too. Miscellaneous projects. Since we last met, we finished the 3060 Williston Road roof replacement. It looks great. The Heritage Southwest Hangar, 24,000 square foot building addition, they go for their last South Burlington DRB meeting on September 7th, I believe. The Beta Hangar, North Hangar expansion, a 4,800 expansion of that building we completed that 2 weeks ago with the South Burlington DRB. The hearing was closed and we're awaiting the decision, which we anticipate to be positive. And as And we did a huge RFP for multifunctional snow removal equipment, and we have now have new equipment either here or on the way. And Gene can probably report better on that than I can right now. So, Nick, is that my last page, or do I have a 16 there? Oh yeah, just that. I'm good. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions of Larry? All right, seeing none, let's move on to items sent to the Board of Finance and City Council. I think,
Bill, just
go ahead.
We do have Jeff Munger back online as well.
Okay.
No, keep going, Bill. You never know when I'm going to get shut down.
Bill,
What?
I just introduced Matt Walker. Sorry, I didn't do this in the beginning of the meeting. Matt is the new director of maintenance, and Matt joined us back on June 1st, comes from UVM, and as well as having his own business in town, and he's very skilled at what he does, and we're very happy to have him join the BTV team. And he took Rick Brown's spot as director of maintenance. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew who this guy was up in the corner of your box there. And we're really excited. He's been doing a great job working with the team, and he has a lot of heart, and he's going to fit in just well.
Whose place does he take?
Took Rick Brown's spot. Rick left us a year ago.
Okay. You don't come over loud and clear, Gene. I don't know why, but.
I don't know either. I got a big mouth.
No. Anyway, go ahead, Jeff.
What? You can keep going, Bill.
Okay. I see no one from South Burlington here. Is that correct? So, not seeing anyone. It's too bad. I wish Helen were here, but obviously she's not. Director's report?
I'm going to give you some South Burlington updates with that director's report. We've actually, Helen and I have been communicating a lot. There's a lot of wonderful things happening between South Burlington and the airport. And Helen has been very instrumental, so I feel bad that she's not here to update you on them. But one of them is that Kirby Cottages have sold. And so all of our direction with that has, the time has paid off. And so that sold last Monday. And so we're quite excited about that. And it was purchased by Beta Technologies, and they're using it for workforce housing. And this was really a win-win for the community, a win-win, I would say, for our city councilors, for South Burlington city councilors. I would say everybody that's been involved with ending this sound mitigation program of housing removal and now switching over to housing insulation. This was a great pivot point and a great, I'm really delighted that it happened, and I'm glad that it's sold, and I'm glad that the airport doesn't own it anymore. One other thing, did you update about the about the school? So a lot of good things happening. We also have a community garden that the employees started. A bunch of Matt's folks over in maintenance were listening to the mayor, and that the need that was needed in the community for additional food. He challenged the community to have people put out, any additional food that they have in their gardens. He encouraged people to plant extra. So a bunch of our maintenance folks, Kurt Tatro and Dick White, and a bunch of the Matt's team went out, turned over a bunch of soil, and we've been donating somewhere between 35 and 80 pounds of food per week. So to the South Burlington food shelf. And so I'm quite excited about that, but that has a lot to do with what's going on. As part of my report as well is when things get more normal, I really look forward to having you all get a tour of the Beta technology. They have taken that liability that the airport was carrying, and we were using it as a maintenance shop, and today it's a beautiful hangar, and there's about 75 people working in it. There's a flight simulator. It's state of the art. They've really put millions of dollars into this building, and at the same time employed, several thousand people. And they're innovative, they're creative, they're fun to visit, and they're building an electric aircraft. And so it's really neat to watch. So if you want to individually maybe come and take a tour of that, I'd be more than happy to set that up. I would encourage you, if you ever were having a down day and you want to have an update, come on over and I'll set up a tour for you. It's really an amazing thing that's happening. We also, as I think Larry and Nick talked about, 3060 Williston Road. Maribel's has moved in there, and they are just doing a boomer business. At a time when things are challenging for so many, you have to stand in line to get in their business. So that's a really good problem to have, and they continue to cook. And as you can look at my waistline, I stop there way too often. I'm now switching over to just coffee instead of everything else that they have. So they're doing a great business. We also have, is it Vermont Sandwich, or what sandwich company is over there? Ben's Sandwich, another tenant over there. But the building is full. And as Larry said, we have a new roof, we have a new air, we have new upgrade electricity, a new rubbish pad over there. So what I'm telling you is that real estate is really performing. We also have 3090 Williston Road, which is also performing at a very high level. Kurt went over and renovated that. That's another one of Matt's people. And he spent about 3 weeks renovating the building. And Pete's RV rented it for $3,500 a month and has really done a wonderful job making the whole appearance of that area really look a lot better. We've also spent a lot of time over in we call it the South 40 now, but it's really the old pit, and just cleaning it up, elevating it, and getting it ready for the next steps. That will be one of our next growth areas here at the airport, as well as a couple other locations that we'll be working on for the next year at designating growth spots for the airport, because we're pretty much tapped out and we don't have a lot of other growth spots. So we are working on those areas and preparing them, and they're well on their way and looking really good. And again, if you ever wish to just come over and take a tour, we can arrange that. And I'd like to show you some of the really neat things that are happening. And as you've heard, also the QTA is just about complete. It's about at the 99.9% mark. But again, if you see it inside, it's absolutely amazing to see what a great functioning building that we have. And then again, the taxiway, the apron work, and all the other types of things that are happening here. We're going to be so ready when this market does come out. When we change and we get through this, the airport's going to be in super shape and ready to roll. We're keeping up with the thermo temperature controls. We're keeping up with the, what's going on in the industry, probably slightly ahead of a lot of airports. And we're trying to keep people safe. There's just a lot of really exciting things happening here. We have much of our staff still working from home. And like Marie, for instance, is at home and has done, Dana and Lynn have been working from home and just doing a super job. They send me daily reports, and I would say the efficiency of working from home, I am definitely an advocate for that. They've worked hard and are doing well. Nick and Shelby, if things go awry, they will also be working from home. We have set things up so that we're very well protected now. We have 2-door system so people cannot come into our area, so it's very protected. So that we do have a lot of wonderful things happening. We got a donation of 68,000 face masks from the Department of Defense, and another 8,000 from the state of Vermont, that we've been handing out to people on a daily basis. We also got another 27,000 from a business in Georgia that we've been handing out. So we're doing our part to help the community. We've also continued to be the fulfillment officer for the city for all the PPE here at the airport. We're playing our role to make sure that the city departments have everything that they need to function safely and efficiently in a good way. I'm just very impressed. Matt's team has a lot of his folks have children and they have to work from home or not come in, and they're taking advantage of a lot of the benefits. It's a very stressful time, I would say, on management, but as far as output and results, I could not be more happy with what we're doing. This team, you heard Larry go on and on about a lot of his work and Nick's work and Shelby's work. They are just doing great things. So I'm very pleased. We're getting a lot of federal dollars. We've had a lot of weekly meetings with the FAA. Soon the sound mitigation program will be approved and we'll be implementing that. There's just really good work. The world may have slowed, but the airport did not. And when we come out of this, we'll be in great shape. Any questions for me?
Any questions of Nick?
Yeah, you're right.
Any questions?
He is really the director, but he's very good.
Okay. Commissioner's items. The commissioner have anything to share with your fellows and staff?
Gene, I just had I have a couple of things. The first one is, can you talk a little bit more about Nick's change in responsibility at the airport?
Sure. A year ago, Kelly Colleen resigned as Director of Operations, Deputy Director of Operations here at the airport. I'm sorry, Deputy Director of the airport.
Deputy Director of Aviation Operations.
And she resigned and she went to Copley, I think, to work for them. And we posted the job. I think we posted it 3 times. And we finally hired a gentleman who didn't really work out. And so we then posted the job again. And, Nick expressed interest in doing this job. And we hired him to do it. So he is still Deputy Director of Aviation, as well as now he's handling operations and as well as administration until we hire somebody for administration. So we needed somebody that would, I would say, take the bull by the horns. This is one area of the airport that I have not been able to transition, part of the changes that I would like to make and that need to be made to bring the airport to the next direction. Nick accepted the position after the team offered it to him. And so it's very similar. As far as Deputy Director, he kept that title that he had before. And but he took on the responsibility of operations. And what operations is, it is the people that are here 24/7 that keep the airport safe. They follow and make sure that we're always following the FAA regulations and everything that keeps the airport safe. He does. He'll be doing a big exercise in September for in case we were to have any type of a crash or disaster. It's a big thing that he's doing, and we're doing that. Nick is running that. He has been able to do his current duties as well as these duties, and I'm really excited to see his energy and what he may bring to the position. Does that answer your questions, Tim?
Yes, it does. And thank you, Gene. And thank you, Nick, for taking that on. I think that's a lot to manage, but thank you for doing so.
It's my home. I came from operations, and that's what Gene and I talked about quite a bit. So I'm happy to take on the role and the responsibility. I'm excited.
And I'll just add one more thing. The best part about it, Tim, is his attitude. He comes in here, he is so excited and so jacked to make the changes that are needed, and he's very creative. He's fun to work with, and I can't wait to see what he does.
Right. Well, I see a lot of that. Not lately because we're not there, but I see a lot of that in Nick when we've had meetings there. So again, thank you, Nick, for doing that.
Thank you.
2 other quick things. So the first thing is Just a request that if the agenda for this meeting changes, is there any way that we can be notified? Because I pulled down the agenda on Saturday and the agenda today is different than that. And it's fine that the agenda changes. I just am asking if there's a way that we can be notified if the agenda changes from the original post.
If I can comment on that. We had to juggle this a little bit because this is our annual organizational meeting, and we all weren't ready for that, I guess. But to answer your question, once the agenda has been published, first of all, technically, yeah, the agenda is published, and then the only changes that can be made are those by the members of the commission. And in fairness, if there's going to be additional amendments to the published agenda, the commissioner making those amendments should indicate that, and those are proposed amendments sent to the commission. So your point is well taken. If we had done that right, Tim, because I talked to Gene and Hannah about this, it was my initiative and my fumble that I didn't send this out as properly. And I think we can modify that. So in all fairness, that you get the agenda as soon as the amendments, as soon as they are known by the member of the commission. And that goes to the rest of us too. If any of you have an amendment, then you indicate that to Hannah and put your name on it, and it goes out after the agenda has been published. Is that clear?
Yeah, and again, I have no objection to the agenda changing. I just want to be prepared for the meeting. That's all. So.
Well, your point is well taken, and I think Hannah and I have talked about that.
Okay.
And I'll say, and I appreciate the comment, Tim, but rarely does that happen. And Bill is like rigid as far as following the rules. So before I do anything, I always call, Bill is like the godfather of the rules, and we did talk about it. So I do apologize, but we didn't do it on purpose. We will be better, obviously, in the future, and we have been in the past. This is just really trying times, and we really wanted to have the meeting. We had because it was a organizational meeting, we really wanted to have it. It's been really, really difficult to pull things together. And certainly, as you can tell, the staff has been working hard and a lot has been happening, and we'll do better in the future, obviously.
And again, it's not an issue of it changing. It's just communicating that a change has been made.
Correct. Good. Anyone else? I'm sorry.
And then the last point related to that is we had an agenda item 6.03, item sent to Board of Finance and City Council that I think we skipped over. I don't know if there's something germane that we want to talk about on that agenda.
I thought we had talked about that, but do you have further questions? I think Marie had something to comment on that.
Oh, I guess I missed it then. I didn't have anything specific. I know there were a bunch of attachments that were in the agenda for today.
And Marie, you still on?
I am still on. I mentioned it sort of while we were waiting for the technical difficulties. I had mentioned, because Nick had brought up about the grants that we had applied for. That is really, so that item is just a list of everything that we brought forward to the Board of Finance and City Council, as well as the attachments. If you want to read more about any of it or have questions about any of it, the information is all attached for you to take a look at.
Okay, so we basically discussed that when we were talking about 601.
Very briefly. Okay. I mentioned a few of the things that were in there. There are obviously other items that are in that. Everything that has gone forth since April 27th downtown is on that list, along with the memos in those cases.
Okay, I just want to make sure there wasn't specifically something we want to discuss in 603. So, okay, thank you.
I don't. Nick, is there anything you wanted to highlight out of that, or just for information?
The point really was the information. So, like Marie said, that it's just the memos that we wanted to give to you that went to City Council. Probably at a future meeting, you're going to look at these again and ratify them. not approvals, but recommendations. But again, these are all passed through the city council already.
Okay.
All we wanted to make
Yes.
sure that you saw them and let you know that you will have another opportunity to have discussions and ask questions.
And
Okay,
just
all set?
All set. Thank you.
I have a couple of items. First of all, Hannah, I don't know if we can have a hands up kind of a thing on this screen because it's difficult to know who wants the floor. And I don't know, other screens, there was a little thing, hands up, so you put your hand up so that whoever's running the meeting knows who wants to speak and who doesn't. Okay, I don't know if that's possible. I also, Nick, would like to take a tour of the airport up there so we can be in touch. It's been a long while since I've looked at the airport and also at Beta and what they're doing. And so maybe we can, offline, we can work something out, and I'd be privileged to go through the airport again. That's okay with you.
Love it.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay. Is Mayor Lodge still on the line?
I don't see her phone number. No.
Okay. Anyway, I had a question. I happened to stumble on a city council, Winooski City Council meeting with Gene and Nick, and under debate was some sort of a application for a noise monitoring system. I think this was part of number 14 in Larry's presentation. There was some controversy about that, whether this is all only partial information. The allegation was that there wasn't sufficient information, and the FAA said, no, you're not going to get this. Bring us up to date on that, Gene. That's a key item. And I'm sorry that the mayor is not online to give her perspective, but Gene, go ahead if you would.
Well, actually, the mayor Bill has been amazing. Mayor Lott has just been a great partner. And as well as the Winooski City Council, I really have found them to be a great partner. I'm going to just elaborate a little bit. We also met with the Williston, not City Council, Select Board, and we had a similar conversation with them. And really what it was they asked us, we reached out and they asked us if we would participate in their meeting. And they had questions about the noise monitoring system. So when both parties voted, they asked the airport to apply for monies for sound monitoring program. I think in both cases, we were already applied. And what I did when I wrote the grant is we were, this has been a odd year for grants. So I basically went for the gusto in the grant and, hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. I did not expect, because we didn't follow necessarily all the criteria in the grant process, but there seemed to be a lot of want and need from the community for this. So we, talking with Mayor Weinberger, I told him I would give it a whirl, and I did. We put it together, we applied for it, and we asked for the world. But what we ended up getting was, and again, hasn't been awarded yet.
No, it has not.
What we believe we're going to be getting, based on conversations we had with the FAA, is that we're going to have 3 monitors. What we wrote in the original, or what we've been discussing with the FAA, is that we'd have one on the north, on the south, and then one outside on land of the airports near the Chamberlain School. What we got from the Williston School, Williston meeting rather, was Art Sinosia, one of the citizens of Williston, said, well, why don't you just put it at the town hall? And I said, if they will give us an easement, we certainly could do that if that's something that you would like to do. It is a portable system. So we will, in that case, they said they would, I don't know if they said they would, but it seems like it's the direction that we're headed in. We also talked to Mayor Lott about putting one at their town, City Hall as well. And we will reach out to the South Burlington School District and see if they would give us an easement. In case, then we'll have 3 monitors. There'll be at those locations, and it'll be about a year from now.
Yeah, I would say, operational within the year, for sure.
And Nick has been, again, I'm talking about it, but it's really Nick's program. And he's been working with Diane Carter, who's one of our consultants. And they just did a lot of work at the very last moment. And we believe we're going to be very successful at having a monitoring system about a year from now.
Okay, so that those three monitoring systems you're putting in Williston, Winooski, and South Burlington have been, quote, approved. If you will, the site has been approved.
I would say we've had discussions with the FAA. I'm optimistic that they're going to fund it, but they have not been approved by the FAA.
The funding has not been approved for off-site monitoring. Is that what you're saying?
I am saying that.
And for context, Bill, a typical project or a typical grant, you would have to have a full design and bids in place to apply for a federal grant. In this case, we requested an amendment to that. We applied for a grant strictly based on estimates. Once we get the grant, then we can continue the design, procure it properly with bids, and then also work on easements and site locations, and then the rest of the design as well. So
is that underway?
No, it's not, because we still do not have the funding. The grant funding has not been awarded yet.
Okay. Do you expect it to be awarded?
Before September 30th. Yeah, before the end of the federal fiscal.
Okay. Did anybody else have any questions or comments? I think that's.
I just couple very quick things. One is I thought this publication was amazing, and so big kudos to the airport staff for putting that together. It looked like I know a lot of work went into it, and I think it's a great it's a great representation of our airport, and I think a really special thing to have. So great job with all of that. And the other thing I just wanted to just thank Gene and the staff at the airport. These last 5 months have can only imagine what you've gone through. I know what we've gone through at UVM and in the athletic department, and your world has been rocked even more so than ours. And it just it's good to be back together again and get a little bit of an update. But can only imagine the pace that you guys are working at, and just wanted to say thanks on behalf of at least myself, but I assume the rest of the commissioners as well.
Yep, I agree, Jeff, and thanks for bringing up that publication. It was an outstanding job. It does give us a good yardstick of what the airport is, what it was. Nice going. Anyone else? Hearing none, we will adjourn this meeting until maybe we'll have to continue this way, guys. Sorry, that's the way it is. So I don't know when the next third Wednesday is, but we'll accept a motion to adjourn until that date. Motion?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Yep.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. We're hereby adjourned. Thanks, guys. Appreciate this. It's a new way of life. It's the way it is.
Time.